Sup? How's everyone doing? It's your boy, live once again on the channel. You know how it is. I'm very tired. Early stream for once. You know how it is. We're doing today a few games, and then tomorrow we'll be doing a few more. Simply put, today's games that have happened live, T1 versus BLG, I slept through but had the broadcast open. And then the G2 series versus Anarchy, that was painful. Kind of the reason I fell asleep, to be honest. But hey, we're starting off early today. We're doing the first LPL LCK matchup this weekend. And it should be an interesting one, to say the least. I'm just trying to get my PC set up for the stream properly, because I'm not ready at all. And as you know, I've been out today. I've been shopping, and I went to a local game store and bought some Pokemon cards, namely the I don't know how well it's picking it up, but the Mew Special Collection for 151. I'll be doing a video on that bad boy in the distant future. I just saw we dropped a couple of frames, which is peculiar, to say the least. I think it doesn't help I've just loaded up League. That sometimes does that. But yeah, today's going to be a fairly chill stream, to be honest. I'm full of energy, as you can tell. So we might as well open up a couple of packs that I bought. I bought a Paldea Evolved. The colour on my webcam is kind of awkward. But I got a normal Scarlet and Violet and a Paldea Evolved with this little guy, little chunk figure. Little cutesy guy. I wanted it because of the little chunk, but yeah. We'll open this while I just quickly open something on my PC. As you know, I like Pokemon cards. Just to add to a collection, last time we did one of these on stream, we opened up a gold, an NG. That was pretty chill. But I'm nice, I'll give you the code cards. There you go. For those who would like it. One to the front. So Psychic Energy. Delibird, it looks like. Jigglypuff. I'm having to look at the camera to figure out what it is. Giraffaric. What is that? Is that Tropius? Cool. Into Oranguru. Into Electrode. First reverse, is that? Grafii. That's a reverse. That's a Wingull. And there's a Shinx in our next reverse, or second reverse. And that looks like a Hariyama. It is. Our rare's a Hariyama. Okay. Not the best pull, I guess. And last pack. I'll do this one on my side. I'm just going to check LOL, my LOL account, to see how many World capsules I got from the stream. Watching all 4 games. I got 3. It's time. Snack Time Poro. And did you see that? Nice. It's nice to actually get new emotes. Like, I've had so many for ages. And they never add more. But, by the fact that this is a white code card back, this is not a good pack. So I'll have a look. Chardet, Mankey, Capsicid, Potion, Heracross, Crocodile, Flamigo. I tell a lie, there's a gold card in here. There's a Magnemite for my reverse. My rare is Professor's Research. And the gold card is actually pretty flipping good. Gold Miraidon. Wow. I wish the color was a little bit better. And I need to look at that. But damn. That makes this opening pretty decent, to be honest. And yes, my phone did just go off. And yes, it is a landline phone, because of course we have a landline. I live in the UK, bro. But, as it stands, I've got a few things coming next week for Pokemon cards that will line up well with the 151 opening. Namely, from the new set. And it's a once, like, probably never happen again sort of opening, you know? Like, this is set up to be a pretty chill thing. But anyway, what everyone's here for is League of Legends. Shall we get into draft for today? So, KT LNG. LNG I predicted to win 2-1. And the reason I predicted it to be that one-sided is because LNG as a whole have looked a lot better with Scout getting himself onto an Azir and realistically just carrying the games. LNG have looked phenomenal through every game so far. This is game 3, not game number 1. I'm slacking. Shall we get into game 1? You can tell I'm out of it. Here we go. With the crowd staring emphatically at us. KT are on blue, LNG are on red to start this series off. And the cast for this game is really interesting because you've got Chronicler on it, who obviously diehard LCK kind of showcases why he's following them, and honestly he summed up this series pretty well in game 2. But here we go, game number 1. Kalista, Kaiser, Xayah removed off the board. Triple ADCs removed. Rumble gonna be removed. I think KT should remove Azir or first pick it, because Scout will probably lock that in. Nico also an option for Scout that he's found success on, but it's going to be the Orianna removed. So that leads me to believe that KT may first pick the Azir, but there's also the fact that Maokai is up and available, Jarvan is up and available, Lee Sin more prio to the Eastern teams. They seem to want to go for that more so than any other team, but Maokai left open, gets locked in, going to continue to have a very high presence, 95.6% presence in pick ban. LNG, they're going to be probably looking to respond with a Jarvan and or a Lee Sin in this first phase, or they're going to go prio for Zika. I think Jarvan would make the most sense. Glad that comes through. The reason is you kind of want to dive into the backside, and Jarvan paired with something also very aggressive, like maybe a Rakan here or a Rel, would allow you to go for this explosive teamfight comp, and I honestly really like to have seen the Rel come through here. But with how many ADCs are banned, getting your ADC first locked in does make it a little bit nicer for LNG, because I'd say the top 4 ADCs locked in at Worlds in terms of success have been looked at here. Sivers, the other one just outside of that top 4. And that's going to be a Cassante blind. Trying to throw the gauntlet down against Zika is KT, who is going to probably preface a carry for himself. And, I mean, Poppy is a good option here with the Jarvan, or even a Gnar. Something that can wombo up well with the Jarvan and the Felios to clump them all up. I still would love to see a Rel come through, but they're going to actually preface the Nico. Scout likes this pick, he's very good at it. It's not had that much prior at Worlds, 9 wins, 4 losses, though. And it surprises me that it's fallen down this far, considering KT have gone Jace. Now, that does make me question where they're going to get most of their AP damage, because Jarvan will probably build a bit more tankier. He goes Bruisery, Gore Drinker, plus maybe Stark's Gauge. And Spirit is the main component of his build, but that would be probably his first 3 items. You get a lot of resistance, you get a lot of CDR on your abilities. So as a whole, I would say Jarvan wouldn't be the easiest of targets to kill. LNG banning out the Zeri. They're taking KT down the prio pick path quite heavily. You've got a lot of champions removed off the board for that bot lane, and it is kind of forcing them to go towards the Sivir or the Sivir or the Ezreal if you are aiming. Maybe even Caitlyn. It wouldn't do too well, I don't think, into the Aphelios, but like, that's a lot of different champions removed off the board. I think LNG just slammed the Rel here. That would make the most sense. You slam a Rel or a Thresh, but it looks like they may be giving Zika his carry. Jax would work well. You can Bruisery frontline through KT. It's a nice pick. What is going to be the response on the other side of the rift? I would honestly like to see Ziggs. Purely because you're lacking crucial AP on your side of things. Maokai is your only form of AP. But with the fact that LNG are very, I would say, burst heavy, he's probably going to be a bit more tankier in terms of the Maokai. But it's going to be Jinx Alistar locked in to round out the KT side of the draft. I'm not a fan of their overall comp here, KT. It does seem very do or die in the fact that they need to snowball hard early in order to win this game. But like LNG, they've got such a good combination of champions. Renata locked in to round out their draft. You can basically match the Maokai Nature's Grass with the Hostile Takeover, and you just do so much work. Like, it's such a difficult comp for, I feel, KT to get through. And LNG as a whole have done well with this draft. It's got a mass amount of AP burst in the mid lane. You've got burst in the bot lane, and you've got heavy trading frontliners in the Jax and the Jarvan. Overall, LNG have got a very strong draft going into KT, who I guess want to poke you from range. It's kind of awkward how they've drafted. It's just a collection of strong champions plus Jinx, and it doesn't really mesh well, I feel, as a comp here at Worlds. But as it stands, we're getting onto the rift for game number 1, and that will be where we see who finishes out on top. I can't wait to actually know the outcome of this matchup, because as a whole, we've seen these two teams, these two comps kind of do well against opposition. They've faced some difficult opponents as well, but here, this should be quite an interesting brawl, because one of these two teams will advance to the quarterfinals, where the other will have to come back on Sunday or tomorrow and do a brawling battles against some of the other 2-2 teams. Only time will tell, as the LPL and LCK third seeds on paper come out onto the Rift in a fan of 5 style. Looking at the ruins, nothing out of the ordinary there. Phase rush on 2 of the KT Ralston members, looking to poke, looking to jump, looking to do whatever they want to get in on top of LNG, whom will very easily dissuade that engage. But regardless, item-wise, it's a Phelios call. That's the standard thing you expect to see on a Phelios call start. Does tend to lead to be a very zero aggression bot side. You just want to farm up. And level 2 Aphelios should probably get wave pushed in against this Jinx. With the call, the extra gold coming through will make this very hard to deal with. We do now know it's headbutt Alistar, so it's going to make this bot side matchup easier for level 1 for LNG, due to the fact that Alistar can't really impact or go for a knock-up until he hits level 2, which he's probably nowhere near doing. And what now, the fact that LNG have the level 2 advantage forces KT under the tower, and as such, this bot side is in favor of the LPL squad, and they're actually getting a decent freeze on the minion wave. They're doing some very smart things where the caster minions are focus firing down one minion, so it makes this push quicker. It allows them to get them into the tower, and they can get, if they want to, some turret plating. Renata has got Spell Thieves, so will be getting a little bit of extra damage. She might even have Demolish. I don't remember seeing that in her runes, but that turret took quite a bit of damage on that crash through. And so, as a typical level 2 bot side happens, KT just having to weather the storm that's been put down on them. Junglers are finally down on this bottom side of Rift, and they're actually matching up well against one another. And as such, you kind of have to feel that now the fact that Scry's Bloom was just popped, KT, and more specifically, because we'll have to hover around here and kind of have to stay in a position where he backs alongside his bot lane. Yeah. Just makes so much sense. Threat of the dive is here as a flash, headbutt, pulverize, comes through, and first blood goes over to KT. Just a flick of a switch as the Alistar gets rooted down and killed off. It's a trade of 1-for-1, but in the end, KT will take that as their bot lane was put behind early by the aggression coming out from LNG's bot side of the map. That is a very worthwhile trade, I think, for KT. The fact you got actually quite a bit out of that one. You got Flash out of Gala. You got Ignite out of Hang. But Lehend, he did not falter in that play. Flash Q into Headbutt, under the tower, into the Maokai. It's an easy combo. And yeah, Renata unable to trade anything back. The kill comes through a bit late. The Gravitum does work. And because the Alistar was just out of range of the autos, it does get Gala's flash out of him to get the kill trade. And that is actually, I would have said beneficial for KT. I didn't realize the kill went over to Lens, whom I think's had an okay-ish tournament so far, but he has got a very big warpath in his playstyle. He loves to play aggressive, and sometimes it doesn't always work out, but so far it's done well. And Lens, I would have said, could have benefited giving the kill over to this Jinx. Jinx, obviously a champion that hyperscales, still has that insane property. It isn't the same on live build as mid lane. That's going to be the Pot Blossom, not going to come through, as that is finally a kill in the right place for KT, as BDD gets the massive kill on his lane opponent. That should allow him to get a bit more of a push, get a decent reset off here. He hasn't got TP, he in fact just used it. And so I think KT Rolster will probably just try and force this Drake once BDD returns to lane. However, with Tarzan hovering around here, going to be spotted out on the sapling. It looks like LNG are going to force the objective, which is good for them, honestly. It's a little bit of an issue if you're KT Rolster, because you did just get a winning play mid, and you use it to reset your mid laner who just took a reset. But hey, it is what it is, and at least now he's got double Dorans. That's a bonus. I'm also not moving my camera over in the right place. There we go. So, as it stands, Infernal Drake picked up for LNG. Top side, Keen just getting aggressive. Zika getting chunked out. Oh, -1 there on the minions as the zap not going to tag for aiming. I guess he wasn't really aiming to hit that one. I hate myself. Regardless, let's take a look at this mid play. Okay, so it's just Flash Nature's Grass, Pot Blossom not in time, and it's just bringing the hammer down to secure the kill. And look at how happy these fans are. I think that's something that I like about Korea, is how invested their fans get into the game. Even the Chinese fans. When I was at MSI, you could see the investment coming in from the fans, the roars of excitement and the happiness of their team winning. And because it was the T1 game versus LNG I went to, where it went very far, it was 4 games, you saw pure adoration between both, like, rosters, and that was surprising to see, honestly, because you don't really expect it. Regardless, we're getting into the mid-game or past the 8-minute mark. The Herald secured by, because going to be possibly using that to go towards this next Drake, set up the plays on the map. That'll be up in 3 minutes time. So yeah, you still have the opportunity for plates, or you may just actually just drop it early. It's up to how KT want to use it, but typically it'll go towards this next Drake. You kind of can stop the stack that LNG want to go for, and as a whole, you just have a bit of a better time on the Rift, as reset's going to come through from both bot lanes. Already seeing some differentiation in items, as basically a bunch of Scout, you're not going to get away with this. And he changed his form. Okay. But essentially, the fact is, it's a bunch of components across both ADCs. Aphelios building up towards, I would say, either Kraken Slayer or maybe even Gale Force. One of those 2 items are very impactful, as Zika, overstepping a little, the Hens has roamed up. Not gonna get the leap strike, the ignite's put down, the Q forward, the flash trade, The headbutt pushes Zika onto a running away as the Nature's Grasp went wide, but Zika, ticking, the Ignite ran out. He's very low. The health bar regenning up. Good dodge out on the Zap. He jumps over to the ward he pre-placed, and he gets out. I mean, we've all seen the play already, but let's be honest. That was a misplay and a half from KT. And we're going to go quickly back to the start of it. Simply put, it's understandable why Zika is this far forward. Because he doesn't see anyone on KT up here. He sees the Jinx and he's like, okay, I can still hit this tower. He gets a bit greedy and gets the Demolish proc. Here, it's like, well, Lehen's, he's just trying to get in range to Q him and then headbutt him back into his team. That's the simple play. He ignites him so he can track his pathing. He flash trades. And I think Lehen's is thinking, he's not going to flash here. I can still headbutt him. And he does headbutt him. And the reason is, he still goes for the headbutt is because, A, he thinks that this Nature's Grass will root him. And B, the headbutt's also to stop him from continuing to run down this lane to the safety of his towers. And force KT to either go round or straight through and take extreme amounts of towers. Basically, it's to reduce the risk of dying to this Jax in a dive. But it narrowly avoids. That's the big thing here. The fact that this does not tag him, because I would say it's poorly placed, because it's going right there. You know that he's about here when you headbutt him. So realistically speaking, that should have been more like that rather than that. That's just my opinion. It's a misplay on the Nature's Grasp rather than Lens. And while the Zap tags, then the Twisted Advance gets through, you think, okay, they've got enough damage here to kill him off. Lehen stops hitting. Okay, he messes up there. He could have honestly have hit and tapped him once, and that would have gave over the kill. You'd then have got Jinx excited, the wave pushed in, and you would have definitely have got maybe two. I say maybe. You would have got one turret plate on this top tower. Because the rest of LNG, nowhere near this play. You would have got so much gold if you were able to A, kill him. You would have got assists onto your carries. But it's a misplay overall from KT Rolster. And then just watch how Aiming plays this. He uses a zap. It misses and then he just walks off. He's given up the chase. He's like, okay, well, I'll probably get the kill to the tower. And it's only Cuz who continues to chase. And that's just a poor play from KT. Not respecting the Jags in terms of his kit. And obviously how well Zika can play this pick. And look, sure, you're getting turret plating here. And you'll eventually get the tower. But you're behind on the play now. As KT are going to be caught out. The tower hasn't fallen and LNG have responded. The tower finally falls, but your Jinx caught out. The TP comes through as the Twisted Advance comes through as well. Jarvan buying time for the team, but it's actually going to be Zika caught out. This honestly... The fact that KT get away with it, even after fucking up, I'm not even gonna warrant the swearing, but I don't normally warrant swearing, but I'm gonna wear it there. This is just poor. The fact that this could have gone so much worse is insanity, and I'm intrigued how LNG messed this play up. It's just a quicker response, isn't it? So, simply put, KT invests their entire squad into this play while the rest of LNG only send up 3. And 2 members are in the bot side pushing. That's the easiest way to say this. KT think they can turn it around. They invest a TP. They look to try and kill off aiming, but they can't. And as such, they get the kill onto Tarzan, who kind of tries to play the sacrifice role. And they get the kill finally on Zika, who just TP'd back up there. Oh, that's a bit of a misplay from LNG. Sitting behind 4 kills to 1. A nice 1k gold lead over to KT Rolsa. They got the first tower. It was a trade, and that's a bit of an issue because a lot of the gold is now sitting in Gala's back pocket, and this Aphelios is slowly coming online. He's got Stormraiser, which was the actual build he's going for with that Noon Quiver. But mid lane, Pop Blossom gonna actually land as the Cassante gets caught out, taken very low as this Drake is spawned. LNG not gonna go contest this, I feel. Instead, they're pathing up topside, getting a bit of vision down up here. And they're probably gonna look to get this tier 1 top. I think that's a beneficial play for them. No one on KT are up there. They haven't got TPs to invest either to respond to it. This is LNG responding to the map quicker. However, what has happened because of it is LNG aren't able to stack up the Drakes as they wanted to. And now it is Demolish Renata. So these turrets are set to be demolished. The rocket from Jinx clears out most of the wave. And yeah, red-white guns usually spell the demise of towers, as look at how many chakram stacks have been picked up just off of killing these minions and turrets. It's insanity, and while it looks very low in kills, and LNG are behind in that market, I don't think that's a bad thing. The gold for the Gala is incredibly high, as he's just been able to free farm and push, as the fact that 9 turret plates have fallen, 5 in the bot lane, 4 in the top side, I'm pretty sure they all went into Gala's back pocket. And there may have been 1 in the mid lane. That tells you something about the eco. Gala is ahead. So is Hang, because they've been killing towers uncontested. And KT have allowed it to happen with their weird investments into the map state. I think the fact that LNG punished Keen in mid lane allowed them to force him to rotate. Well, he had to go to base, so LNG took the time to rotate top uncontested while the rest of KT took Drake and stayed in the bot side map. Essentially, LNG just forced the tempo of this game and are in control, I feel. And this is why KT can't realistically contest this objective. However, they've invested TP. Keen comes to the mid lane, and actually it's going to be LNG backing off. But that damage coming out onto the Alistar already is scary. LNG honestly could do the smart thing of just give up this Herald, and the fact that they've got Zika with TP and Scout, they could honestly just send one of them bot, pressurize this tier 2, and not really lose anything, because if a fight breaks out, they can obviously join up with the team. I personally would have preferred maybe Scout to go for the bot lane, purely because you can get some cheeky flank Pop Blossoms. That being said, there aren't really any flank wards, so it makes sense why Zika and Scout took the backs together, so they can actually go bot side. But The fact is, the Herald's not going to be contested by LNG. They give that objective up, and KT get that for very little lost. I mean, the wave is finally being pushed in the bot side, but the response is coming through by Keen. You've got also Cuz in the area bot side if you want to go aggressive. So as a whole, LNG bleeding gold a little bit there. I think that's a bit of a misstep, I would say, on the map. But as it stands, they're fine. I think the scaling is fairly even this game, even though I think it does slightly favour LNG on paper. But, like, I keep saying like, and I don't like it, you know. Essentially, we'll use that word. Essentially, the waves and eco-wise, the scaling becomes less of a factor, I think. The way this game is built to be, it seems like it's going to go long. The Drakes have been split. You've got 30 seconds, or 20 seconds if I can read, until the Mountain Drake number 3, or the third Drake of the game, spawns. The contest for it isn't really there. It's an impactful soul, I would say, but not as impactful as Infernal or Hex. Ocean probably has a little bit more prio than it. But for now, I think we'll start to see teams go down there, as you can actually see Aiming's and Gala's gold diff as good usage of the W and the E from Renata and Jam there to tank up the saplings. Aiming's back in base, which isn't a good thing, as this Drake is being started. He's probably not going to be here in time. Instead, it looks like KT giving up this objective to go for mid pressure, as Keen just going to force a wave as the Jinx rocket does allow for the steal. KT get the objective, and they don't lose anything for it. That is actually dire straits for LNG, as they lose out tempo in mid lane. They lose the tower. They're losing pressure in top side, as that tier 1-2 being threatened by the Jace. Now, KT have a lot more gold in their back pocket, and what we were saying earlier about how LNG were happy with the waves and how the game is being played out, that becomes less and less, like, concerning. They should be worried. KT just steal away an objective, get themselves the mid lane tower opened up. They've got pressure in the top side of a rift. This is a worrisome state for LMG now. And the reason it's so worrisome is because that's a huge influx of gold given over to KT. It's pulled them back even. Aiming was slightly behind, but what this play is, simply put, the rocket lands and the smite, it's a combo. It's a simple combo of abilities out from KT to secure the objective. They just use the smite and the rocket and get out. Simple as that. Nothing really there to break down, and in fact, we should realistically be looking forward to the next fight, or the first fight, I feel, for this game, because we've had a skirmish that was one-sided in KT's favour, and it's why we've only seen 5 kills in 20 minutes. Now, I'm kind of hoping that we get a big team fight around this Baron. Both teams really want to get this. There's very little vision on the actual Baron for KT, and it has allowed LNG to sneak a ward into the backside. Now, what I will say is, LNG would probably struggle to sneak away a Baron against KT because of how effective Maokai is in controlling areas. Finally, they put the control ward in the pit, so they know that it makes it impossible for it to be snuck. Plus, it does allow for full vision control of the Baron to be secured for KT. I like this overall from them. And as a whole, it really is a standard procedure that I really like a lot. As dive comes through, Jax jumps onto aiming, but he's knocked up into the air by the Alistar, and that is an overstep you have to feel from Zika. The mid lane tower is going to fall in a response by LNG, but that's 4 members versus 5 in favor of the KT Rolls squad. The Korean team probably going to head straight to the Baron now that the top laner of LNG is down. And away we go. Tarzan roaming up out of position as a deep TP comes out from Scout, looking for the flank. Baron below a half of its HP, and a Jarvan in position, but he's being man-marked. The hostile takeover finds its man as the Pop Blossom shuts down aiming. 2 kills go over to LNG, and here comes Zika. The rest of the squad chasing, hunting the Maokai as Cuz forced back to safety. KT, you overstayed your welcome. You didn't get the Baron, and LNG say thank you very much. What an amazing turnaround. And while this looked overly aggressive, it's a wombo combo to try and burst out aiming. He uses both his summoners, and while this kill you think is like, okay, this is an overstep from LNG, it pays dividend here once Scout TP's in behind. He gets on the flank, and from out of nowhere, the darkness as his shield, he comes in on the flank, Pop Blossom lands, the flash is used, and the shutdown comes through as Tarzan, he was using the bailout. He used it to keep himself alive there. That's honestly a good usage of the Renata W. And that is a very well played team fight from LNG. And this is why you have to be fearful of Renata. While she controls areas stupidly well with the hostile takeover, she also denies kills. And it's very easy to use it on the target that's just being focused. And so it's hard for teams to fight into it as the engage comes through from the Alistar, getting on top of 2 members. It's the Aphelios that's caught out, but the Pop Blossom does so much work as Keen falls. It's actually going to be a 1-for-1 trade as In the Pit is locked up. Scout getting jumped on, rooted up, and killed off. It's a double kill over to aiming. And that fight goes well for KT. They're not out of this one as they're getting themselves a soul point, and they possibly could focus down this Baron. 20 seconds until the Jarvan is up. You think you have to feel that he should rush this objective, but they're not going to as Lahens, he finds the miracle headbutt pulverize combo, hex flashing over the wall, locks up the Aphelios for the all out, and then the burst combo comes through. That's so much damage put down, and amazingly, Gala stays alive. He uses his flash, but 2 kills onto the mid and the jungle fall for KT, and they're happy with that as they get so much gold back in their back pockets, and they see it. The damage between the 2 ADCs so close. It's gonna be do or die in these team fights, and the fact that it was only a 2-man Pop Blossom from Scout, he had incredibly high damage as well for very little usage, or effectiveness I should say, of that ability. Now 25 minutes have gone, we got 3 minutes until Soul Point fight. LNG are the ones stepping forward into the pit, they're controlling the area, and it looks like we're getting a nice 50-50 Baron flip. TP gonna be invested here as LNG get the Baron secured. The hostile takeover does a little bit of work to keep away KT. But look at the Chakram stacks built up for Gala. He can free fire in. The Moonlight Vigil lands, and he secures the killing spree as the Pot Blossom lands. Zika jumps forward. The Cataclysm lands onto the Jinx, and that's a shutdown. Lahen's next to fall. You have to feel as he's jumped on and gives Gala the rampage. What a big fight for LNG. They secure the Baron, and they secure this winning march as they're looking to end the game here. Big fight out of the LPL third seed as they find the picks needed to win the game. I have to criticize KT a little bit for not forcing the Baron when they just did so much work to LNG by killing off their jungle and their mid. They could have got the objective, but here, what we should really have expected was a massive combination out from LNG as a Rocket gonna tag only Tarzan, not gonna pick up anyone. And we need to watch this fight again, as this looked stupidly good. As the hostile takeover, it pulled Keen back from getting in, and as the Baron fell, that was huge. And it's just, look at how many stacks Gala has. He does so much damage and just deletes, cause then a great Pot Blossom lands, forces a cleanse into the Zika Q and Counter-Strike, and then Cataclysm gets the killing blow onto the ADC. It's just a clean combination of abilities out from LNG, and there's not much more needs to be said than that. Now, with the Baron in their back pockets, the gold lead in their hands, LNG on the front foot here, and you have to feel with a minute off from dismounting Drake, they should quite easily secure it. And I don't think KT can really contest the mid lane, a massive issue for them as in super minions pushing through. Look at that gold swing, incredibly large at the 26-minute mark. It just switched this game into a favourable one for LNG. Sieging up here in the bot lane with the Baron doing work, the cannoned up minions just destroying this tower. And LNG actually are going to try and force two waves. Zika playing between the mid and top lane. That tier 2 top side should probably be killed off here. The bot lane tier 2 has fallen. It's a big Baron buff for LNG. 4k in the back pockets off this one, and it falls off. They're not going to overstay their welcome as the tier 2 on the top side stays alive. But this Baron, this Drake I should say, isn't going to, as aiming, the rocket fired out. No, everyone backed away from the objective there as the rocket just came flying down. KT not going to steal that one away. And LNG stop the stack once again. The two teams fairly even in terms of getting control around this objective. And as a whole, you have to feel KT is starting to feel the pressure of not being able to secure the soul, of them not being able to force a Baron for themselves. And it's certainly backfiring. After winning one fight, it should have been them with the purple worm buff. But no. KT on the back foot and having to deal with these super minions in the mid wave. Always an issue, while providing a little bit more gold, a little bit more experience as a benefit. And aiming certainly going to be taking that benefit for himself. It isn't the thing you want to be dealing with, because super minions are stupidly good at killing other minions, and it makes you not have push at all. I think what we're realistically seeing here is LNG have firm grasps on the map, and while the vision isn't that deep from them, it's only just into the top side of the river on either side of the rift. It is still a good ward line set up, especially considering we've got Baron in a minute, and that probably will be the deciding fight of this game and of this best of 3. It's a big one needed out from KT if they are to win this game, and with essentially 3 items versus 4 on the ADCs and 3 items apiece on the mid laners, this is probably the closest fight we'll get, considering the fact Gala, if you get on top of him, if you burst him out, this fight becomes even. And KT, I'm pretty sure, know that. And I think what we'll start to see is Keen trying to man-mark this Aphelios, try and shut him down. You've already see how much damage these Qs, as Lehens gets a flash out from Hang. That's going to be a trade of summoners between the supports, but that is beneficial to KT. There's no more flash for Hang versus Hex Flash for Lehens. This is where I think you need to be wary of these Qs from this Jace, as KT start to set up their barracks, their turrets in the mid lane with the pew-pews coming out from the Jace, with the Jinx able to fire out the zaps. Baron is up on the table. These two teams want this objective. They want to fight for this objective. But Tarzan steps too far forward as Gala gets jumped on. But he's healing up with his Severum as a 5-man Pot Blossom lands. That is game, set, and match for LNG as they kill off the Jace, they kill off the jungler, and they kill off KT's hopes of winning. A big fight that results in the Baron you feel for LNG. What an amazing play out from Scout as he secures the knockups and the damage for LNG. As Gala, he just healed up. The Rocket will not steal it. And KT will not get anything. This here is just Lens. He sees Gala, gets on top of him, but no follow-up from the rest of his team. And as such, he gets killed off. Tarzan also falls to the Jace, but the Jace oversteps and it allows Scout to get the Pot Blossom onto him. And that is the right target for LNG to lock down and shut out of the game. He's been very hard to deal with. The Jace 3, 1, and 5, and he was the prime target for the full combination of damage out from LNG. We've got Mountain Soul on the table for KT if they want it in 20 seconds. Granted, it's going to be very hard to get out to that objective with the Baron up still for another 2 minutes. Oh, God. So, as it stands, it looks like KT giving up that objective with the fact Cuz is still topside. Unless a Miracle Rocket steals it, LNG could probably get a Mountain Drake for themselves if they want to go for it. Again, they don't really care. They've got Baron for another 2 minutes. They can happily turn back to that when they need to, as that Nico isn't fooling anyone, as the inhibitor tower will fall. The bot lane inhibitor next to be focused down by LNG, who are now rotating over to the mid lane. That inhibitor respawned a few seconds ago, and they're going to get that one back down and dead. As bot side Zika trying to force the wave up. The cannon, the Baroned up minions starting to hit onto the last remaining Nexus tower. The TP from Scout comes through. And KT, you need to find the fight as they catch out Gala. But another amazing Pot Blossom lands onto 2 members, and Gala is godlike. The rest of the fight is continuing through as LNG are bursting out the backside. Tarzan and Zika doing work, stepping forward, going aggressive, killing off the Jace as Nico, she is unstoppable right now, and that's going to be the game for LNG as they take down KT in game number 1. What a big fight. Simply put, I feel KT fumbled the bag here more than LNG won the game. I think the fact that LNG didn't well, KT didn't push their advantage when they had it. Kind of cost them as a whole. What? I'm sorry, that was a bit confusing. Oh, they're just... What are they looking at? I'm presuming the screen is that way. Or that way, if you're me. Because I'm flipped, yeah. But essentially, it's weird. There's a lot of LNG fans, a lot of Chinese fans here in Seoul, Korea for Worlds, and we need to look at Game 2 from a periscope more so than a microscope, because Game 2, it was interesting because of the fact that it just exploded as we actually had... Oh, God. I didn't actually know the matchups yet. We're doing KT LNG, aren't we? Hi. So, let's talk about it. Game 2. It's really easy to see how this game went on paper, and I can just sum it up to one word. Sivir. Not a very good pick at this World Championship. It's not found that much success. However, Talia is a champion that also hasn't found much success here. And the fact that both come through, one of them's still going to continue to lose. But it's not the Talia in this case. As you get Cedra Necton, a massive combination of champions for Cousin Keen. And then you've also got BDD on a Talia who's able to control the map very well. It looks like a firmly controlled game from KT that just blows up 24 minutes in. So around the Baron, and that's how the game ends. A Baron to destroy the chances of LNG in game number 2. However, looking at that kill score, First Blood went over to LNG, but the bot side just weren't able to play. I assume if we take a look at the builds, Force the Sivir, she went Cull. No Cull. So it's weird. It looked like a very low action bot lane on paper, and as such, you would have thought maybe go Cull again, like the Aphelios game. So you just stack it up, just build up more damage for late game. That's just my take on Sivers and how they should build. Yeah. Control wards are plenty. Jeez. Very little in terms of Hang's items aren't control wards. Like, he's probably bought more control wards than items, which is insane. Like, boots there. And then the rest of it is just control wards. He gets Radiant Virtue finally at 28 minutes. Jeez. What about Lens? This is more respectable. Yeah. They're just way far behind that tempo. Because this is just insanity. Full AP, it looks like, for the build. Storm Razors into Nash's into Deathcap. The AP-esque build. Where was Ragebait? Oh, Ragebait was there. Fair enough. I think that this game, from what I remember, it looked close, and then KT just blew it open. Kind of like game 1. It looked close, and then it got blew open. And that's kind of what you like to see in a full series. But yeah, I need to go quickly do something for 2 minutes. I will be back shortly. I'll see you in a couple of minutes. And we're back, sorta, kinda, for game number 3. Hopefully, this one's a bit better for my throat. I need to quickly get a nice glass of water for myself. So, we should get into game 3 right now. Boom. We started to look at draft already, but Rumble, Nico, Xayah, Maokai removed. LNG are surprisingly the ones to remove Nico after a pop-off performance for Scout in game 1. And, you know, I am intrigued by how these two teams adapt throughout this series, because the game 2 draft saw Sivir come through due to heavy focus on the ADC pool. And with Xayah, I expect Kaiser maybe to be removed here by KT. There's going to be very little in terms of functional ADCs on the board. Or if Kaiser isn't removed here, it certainly will be first pick. And that probably would lead to a Jarvan, Rumble... No, Rumble's banned. Jarvan, Jax combination over to KT. It's actually going to be Renata, so... Yeah, Kaiser first picked. Makes sense. Now KT are falling down the pole of good ADCs. Surprisingly, Kaiser has a losing win rate at Worlds, and yet sees a very high priority of games. Probably not a good thing, but BDD's is here with possibly a Poppy. That would be nicer, I think, than locking in the Alistar here. Because Alistar can fall quite far down the prior picks, as Rakan is up and available. But no, Alistar comes through. I want to see his win-loss. It's slightly better than the Kaiser's, but no. Still a losing one. And Rakan makes sense. Powerful, strong, engages, and you can dance around the Azir quite nicely. I would honestly like that to come through, and now we probably should be looking at junglers. Jarvan up and available, Lee Sin up and available, Viego's there, but like, personally speaking, I think that we will see solo laners more so than jungle, and Renekton comes through. It makes sense. I think Cassante now has to be forced by KT if they are to secure a pick for themselves, the Aphelios. It makes sense actually to go ADC here on 3, as going into BAM phase 2, it certainly would be removed. And Aphelios on the other side this time, and aiming probably going to find some success with this one. You have to feel it's not the most aggressive of picks to pair alongside an Alistar, but it's still a decent one. And here in game 3, you need to use strong scaling picks, I feel. Azir, Aphelios lean towards late game scaling, lean towards finding the power spikes they need to realistically find success here. Now, I personally hope that we get a pretty impactful fight out of one of these two teams. And I just realized I hadn't got that muted. Good job, me. I just put my own stream on just to see something. But hey, as the draft's going through, we've got Silas and Poppy removed off the board, Jarvan removed. The junglers are going to be quite far down their pool of picks. Viego, Lee Sin still looming, I feel. And, you know, there is other options unless LNG ban one of them out. certainly would probably lead to KT picking Lee Sin here in 4. Jack's going to be removed here. That makes sense. You don't want to be dealing with that as Vi comes through for KT. I tend to forget this is a solid pick that's seen play at Worlds, but it just isn't locked in as often as the other junglers at Worlds. As LNG going to round out their draft here. Hovering Scouts Ahri. Ahri is a common matchup to say the least, as that should really have been there. Lock in there, but it's not going to be. It's going to be the Wukong coming out for Tarzan. A monkey in the jungle as the Jungle Book. I have no clue where I'm going with this analogy. But hey, Wukong for Tarzan, and a champion banned out in Game 1 has made its way all the way through the entirety of ban phase 1 and 2 and into pick number 5 for LNG. And Orianna with ball carrying champions. It's insane that it's made it through to pick 5. The Silas saw more prior as a ban for KT. But Scout, dominant on control mages throughout this tournament, gets his hands on another as Ornn goes into the top lane against the Renekton. You're basically giving LNG a winning lane there. The contest, it's so much easier. You can't be serious, honestly. As Keen's not going to find that much success, I don't think, on this Ornn. You're waiting for late game. That's the simple way of wording it. And KT, they outscale by a landslide. But will they reach that point where they can outscale? I think LNG have drafted a very strong snowballing early game comp. With the fact that Wukong can set up plays early and get his team ahead. This is going to be a very hard game for KT to play through. Especially considering it's going to be an Ornn in the top side. Because Ornny, he's very weak when it comes to laning phase. He gets out-damaged, out-killed, and more than likely, out-killed. What am I on about? Essentially, he's going to have very little impact in his fights against the Renekton in the 1v1 skirmish in the top side. I don't think that's the most beneficial of picks, but you are looking to team fight. You're looking to dissuade LNG's advancements against you. And as we enter the rift for the grind, no glory just yet for one of these teams as we get into Game 3 of this best of 3. The standard fan of 5 thrown out onto the rift by either side. Cool start for the Aphelios. Happy be me as Land. Already being jumped on, knocked up into the air. Ignite comes through and the flash is forced. KT Rolster on the back foot early. That was a very arguably greedy play. Bad pathing, personally, from the KT support. And he's starting to feel the pressure of Game 3. Win and you're through to the quarterfinals. Lose and you have to play another series tomorrow. And this should be where the pressure is mounted. It's actually double cool starts. I think this is one of the first times where there's no Doran's items in the bot lane, bar the supports. As you know, they don't have them. That's the first time the bot lanes have no Doran item. Because apparently that's something that LS cares about, is double Doran's items for everyone. Because they're apparently really powerful. Even though I'm a support, I don't really see a Doran item in my game. But Cools picked up for both ADCs. I'm going to talk about it properly now. it does lead me to believe they want to hit their scaling. It makes sense for KT to have one because of Valios. He outscales the Kaiser. And the Kaiser just wants to match it a little bit more. Get her first item quicker. She's running lethal tempo. Looking at these runes, actually, as a whole, nothing out the ordinary per se. We have got Hail of Blades Azir. That's a bit of a different one. As a pause comes through, we get to skip pauses because this is a VOD. And it was a login. Literally 4 minutes of pause. And of course we go to the one where we have people not wanting to see their faces on screen. But into the game we go. This should be fun. Top side, as expected, on getting forced under his tower early. Renekton doing Renekton things. And we get to slow down the tempo of the game. Yay. I like slow tempo games. I haven't got any music running. What? Where's my music? I thought I had music playing. Mundo problemo. Yeah, sorry for this. I'm trying to find my music. There we go. There you go. You get a bit of music now while I'm talking. So, as it stands, we're sitting 3 minutes into the game. LNG getting a bit of a weird map state as because gonna drop a ward onto the Gromp. Gonna be able to see when Tarzan starts that one up. Kinda nice. Mid lane, the wave being stacked up here by BDD. Gonna force that under the tower. Not gonna stay too long. Probably try and get a reset. And in fact, he will go for it. There's mid lane, top side, Zika trading aggressively. Getting chunked out though. Diorn getting to put a bit of pressure down. This Hex Flash is brewing. Not going to result in a jump forward for Lehens. As we are going to inevitably see some heavy trades across the map. It's BDD getting very aggressive onto Scout. Mid lane is not near level 6 just yet. They're only halfway through their level 5 bar, so probably won't see an all-in aggressive play from them until they hit level 6. Just checking where the junglers are. They're both hovering around the mid lane, with Tarzan clearing out his raptors. The level 7 comes through for Zika and Scout. Okay, that gold... Sorry, the level 6 comes through for Zika. That graph confuses me sometimes. But the bot side play, the Gravitum stack placed onto Hang. He's rooted, headbutted back, ignited on. But that is a great knock through forward as First Blood goes over to KT. Cuz finds his man and gets the kill. He needed that one, to say the least, because that was actually looking like a very clean escape for LNG, but an even better combo out from the Vi and the Alistar secure the kill onto this Rakan. And while it isn't going to result in that much of a punishment to the bot side of LNG, it is going to put them on the back foot as we watch this play again. I want to see how Hang gets locked up. So he just jumped on, headbutted away. Flash. It's just a matching of the Qs by Lehens. He just matches where the Rakan's going and then just hits him with a Q. Clean combo out. And look at them. They're so enthralled by it. Not gonna lie, when I was at MSI, I was literally trying to watch the cameras and try and appear on it. I think I still am. I do have my sign somewhere still from it. But mid lane, BDD and Scout getting aggressive into one another. Scout uses his shockwave and chunks BDD as Hang joins up with his mid laner as Tarzan getting some invade into the top side of the map. And I think with how the Renekton's pathed, it is certainly signifying to KT this red buff is being stolen. And as such, this Hex Flash not going to result in a play. LNG just going to path back down. You got Herald in 10 seconds. But the Drake is the focus for KT right now, because starting this Cloud Drake up. And now Gala pathing over. Hex Flash forward. Gonna dissuade Cuz from continuing to take this objective. And that's a big buff for LNG. Stopping the Drake being taken. It's actually going to be finally re-engaged on. It didn't heal back up. And KT secure that objective for themselves. Bot side. Back to farming up. The Kulls 25-29 CS away from reaching their full stacked state. And that's when we'll probably start to see the first items coming through. Noon Quiver in the back pocket of this Kaiser. Probably going to Storm Razors first. And that would be a very nice item. As for the Aphelios, probably going to go Gale Force. I think having the repositioning tool to get away from a lot of dives coming through from the Renekton, the Wukong, even the Kaiser at times, and then Rakan, obviously a staple diver. It's going to be quite hard, I feel, for aiming to be able to fight in this game. As Herald started up by LNG. They're going to pull this one out of the pit. Scout going to join up with his jungler here. And that should be an objective secured for LNG. They're not going to be losing much on the sides either. No pressure being forced by either the top lane or the bot lane. And so Herald's going to be easily secured here for Tarzan, who's just going to take this scuttle on the retreat away from the pit. Personally speaking, I think this game is a lot closer than the starts of the previous two. I think that we've seen not really much trading. It's just been a nice gank bot side to get first blood. And other than that, it's just been wave pushing constantly through these two teams. Neither want to fight over the Herald or the Drake. And as such, it's just surmounted in gold leads across the board for LNG, who haven't really forced waves into towers just yet. In fact, turret plating isn't really been a factor. It's more so been CS, as mid lane there is a even state for them, so that's why you have seen Scout kind of bottom of the trio of gold leaders. But top, bot, and jungle all see CS leads for LNG, and as such, it kind of signifies that these two teams, while very even in terms of champion power right now, there's still slight advantages being gained by LNG. And I think with this Herald secured for them, with the CS leads they've built, it's going to be quite easy for them to force a wave into the tower and possibly force the Herald down for some turret plates, which haven't actually been answered as the TP comes through. Gordrinker also secured for Zika in the top lane. Gonna have an even better time against this all now with the extra sustain this Gordrinker will provide. Also got Divine Sundra on this Wukong and the Vi. So possible mass amounts of healing and damage can come through from these junglers now. Is Cuz hovering around, aiming the gut. That's going to be the full burst combo out from this Aphelios as the dive forward, the cease and desist results in the kill as Gala falls. That's going to be turret plates finally into the back pockets of this Aphelios as the Vi finds her man. What a play coming out from KT to get themselves the inevitable gold they've needed. They needed to get this Aphelios ahead and needed to get a strong position. We talked about using the Gale Force as more so a repositioning tool to evade the engage from LNG. But in this position, it was used to go aggressive, secure the kills, and now it actually didn't result in the kill going over to aiming. The kills went into the back pockets of Cuz, but it has resulted in KT getting onto the front foot in the bottom half of the map. But topside, Herald's dropped, but the engage comes through. Cuz not going to land the Q onto the Renekton, and as such, just gets to walk away. This is the scary part of the map for KT, is that topside. And I think LNG is starting to realize the power they've got up there with the Herald being given over to Zika as the Drake becomes a prior play for these two teams as the TP comes through for the Ornn. The Empress Divide into the headbutt, knocks Scout into the air, but the call of the Forge God kills off the Orianna. Bottom half of the play, it's going to be a shutdown, a massive one there as the Wukong kills off the Vi as the bot side rejoins up with the top side. That's going to be a kill over to the Wukong. In return, the kill went over to the Ornn, onto the Orianna. Jungler for mid laner is the inevitable trade, and it looks like we may see more kills coming through here as that gold graph really is scary. The Aphelios sitting ahead. I'm actually surprised the Wukong's ahead in gold, but I then realized he dropped the Herald topside, so inevitably he gets a bit of gold off that, but not the most, and as such he gets a fairly decent trade overall with that shutdown. Anyway, we looked at the top half of the fight. It's just a Cyclone full burst combo out from the Wukong, shuts down the Vi. And then it looked like it was going to get worse as BDD, incredibly low. And Tarzan was hunting for him. Oh, we just see a smite still coming through. And the engage comes through from LNG. The quickness is used and the Vi is caught out. Going to be bursted out by the Kaiser as now it's just BDD left alone and jumped on. As Gala finds two. And the top side of the map sees another turret falling. That's first Tower Blood over to LNG as Lahend. He's hunting. He sees the Rakan, but he could be caught out here. Not going to be jumped on, to say the least. LNG, they find the fight. They find the steal, and they find the tower. That is so much gold into their back pockets off of literally a 2-second play. Incredibly worthwhile for them. Stealing away that Drake as well. It stops the stack that KT was starting to form, and with it being Infernal Soul, you kind of want that one, as you kind of want that soul compared to the likes of the Cloud and the Chemtech. As here, Rakan does Rakan things, gets onto the target, Renekton comes down, but it's just Gala. He's free hitting, freely killing the carries of KT. And that's just a one fight with very little investment from LNG. As Gala didn't need to use his ult. The only real ultimate used was the quickness for that fight. And look at that gold difference over time. The massive swing as that second Drake was killed. And now LNG sit with firm control on the map. Get themselves this Herald. No real contest can be made by KT. If they go in, they're probably going to be cycloned up to death. And as such, they go away from the objective. LNG going to secure that one for themselves. And now, what we are seeing is just the evenest of lull points. It's just going to be Farm City for the next few minutes. 2 minutes, to be exact, as the Drake and Baron both become available to either team. I think with this Herald, will probably be dropped in the mid lane to open up the rift. You've got Gala already sitting in here. I think that realistically speaking, when this Drake spawns, I think with how impactful Infernal Soul can be, you probably will see LNG drop Herald mid, go for the pressure play to get themselves the objective, and then just go aggressive. It's that common style of play. You've got the speed up from the Orianna, so the Wukong and the Rakan turn is stupidly powerful, and as such, they're probably going to look for it. And with ball carrying tools as the Yogg could be caught out, the Shockwave lands, the Cyclone invested, that is a kill onto the Forge God himself, as Scout picks that one up, his first kill of the game, and Vi was forced to bail out from the bot side of the rift. No one else will fall. That's just an overstep, more so than anything, from KT. Keen didn't really need to be there. He was isolated in lane with no vision of LNG as the TP's coming through. The Renekton's on the flank. He sees aiming and gets on top of him, forces the Gale Force out, but look at Lehens. Ran down and killed off as the Renekton still continues to chase. The Vi comes over the wall, the Q lands, but no one else is gonna go aggressive. They back away, and LNG find the pick onto the support and the top laner. And that should probably result in another kill. The 5-man death squad kill the Ornn once again. He returned to lane with the TP, and he returns back to the fountain just the same way. Death to the Ornn once more. The Herald was actually dropped on the bot side. And that's going to result in the tier 2 falling. Let's say this is just a great pick. Scryer's board just to spot the Ornn if he went into the brush, but that Shockwave pulling him back into his own death. Clean combination out from LNG is here. Lehen's just caught off in the side, charmed up. He's got no escape. Once he's knocked into the air, it's just easy for the Wukong to just bash him down with his staff. And the fact that aiming was just forced to run so far away and really didn't deal that much damage to this Renekton just meant that this was an easy punish onto Keen's TP. Now, KT have to give up another objective as the Drake started up here by LNG, and they're not actually forcing the objective down, which is kind of surprising. They're backing away. This is them regrouping as 5, trying to set up for a big team fight, because let's be honest, get a big team fight, they can turn to the Baron, which has just spawned as well, and they are just giving up on the objective and running straight towards this Baron. Very little response coming out from KT. They're finally chasing this one down, but the Baron, below half of its health bar, the Call of the Forge God is going to be used, and that's going to be possibly the engage coming out from KT, but they're forced to retreat as the Baron is secured. The Cyclone comes through, and they find themselves the Shockwave onto 2. Gala is on a killing spree, and that is going to be mass amounts of kills as double kill comes through. The Empress Divide does not keep Gala from chasing down, and that is another member down on KT side of the rift. 4 kills to 1, and the triple kill for Gala. He finds so much out of that play, and that 4-1-4 Kaiser is on a rampage. It's an amazing position to be in, you have to feel, for LNG, after shockingly just falling down in Game 2 to return back to form in Game 3, as this is just LNG turning onto the right objective. It was a 1 Drake versus 1 Drake, so they realized, well, there's no threat of Soul, why not just force this Baron? they get the objective and they get the kills. Because once KT start to chase, that was such a clean kill by Gala onto the Azir, but once they start to chase you over to this side of the map, they're in a situation where they're scurrying and not in good positions, which allows for the Wukong and the Rakan to find the picks. As once again, it's actually going to be aiming jumped on, but the Gale Force keeps him alive and pushes him to safety. No one falls just yet. And it's really going to be very little lost on either side. Just health bars being chunked. But they're going to be topped back up as the Wukong gets himself to Crook Camp. As Ornn jumped on, forced to dash away to the safety of his tier 2 topside. But with the Baron, LNG can force this down. Yup, placed in a position of power. The Shockwave being threatened. LNG just utilizing the Baron to chip away at this tower. All 5 members are in this top side of the map. Any fight can break out in any second. And with Gala just firing in these Void Seekers, they're doing work. They're chunking members. The Ornn taking a lot of damage as Hang spots out the Vi. And this is just smart play from LNG, playing on 2 lanes onto the inhibitor tower as the engage comes forward from the Vi. That's going to be Dominus used and just absolutely deleted as the Emperor's Divide pushes 3. But the Azir falls instantly. A double kill over to Tarzan. And Lehen's not going to go in. The TP comes through. LNG possibly looking to end it here. The Baron empowered minions forcing into the tower. But the Baron buffer's well off. Aiming, gets hit by the Shockwave, jumped on by the Killer Instinct in Kaiser, and going to be shut down by Tarzan. Another kill as all of LNG have got the kills. KT fall in Game 3 in a clean, dominant, clear-cut win. 24 minutes on the clock. That was fast. LNG took the game to KT, dismantled them on the Rift, and just absolutely deleted them. Insanity, to say the least. And I'm going to be brutally honest, that was a good series when I watched it live. But yeah, let's be honest, we've got a couple more series this weekend to break down. And I'm going to look at the handy dandy sheet because I need to do predictions. And I'm thinking that I'm not going to do another one today as much as I want to. Oh boy, these series get a bit scary. So, that's LEC. Here we go. As you can see, I'm just going to do that. I'm just going to show that and say perfect, 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 perfect. That's all that needs to be said. As tomorrow we've got 3 more series. Oh boy. We've got KT playing after their loss. We got Fnatic playing after their win. And G2 playing after their loss. And it's a similar story on the other side. It's BLG after a loss. It's Weibo after a win. And it's Damwon after a win. So, how do we see these ones going? That's the real question here. Don't know what that is. Don't want to see it. So, oh boy. There's a lot to discuss here. KT DK. Oh. I think I've got to go KT. It's a best of 3. 2 to 1. I'll explain my results in a second. Weibo Fnatic. That's me thinking. And screw it. Let's go for it. Let's go for it. Okay, so KT DK. Obviously, KT higher seed than DK. And I think KT, this last game was pretty poor from them. But they were out snowballed by LNG. There was no real counterplay to it, I don't think. And they played well early, but then it just came to the Drake steal more than anything. Because it led to mid pressure. It led to so much, like, in terms of gold going into the back pockets of LNG, that they just outplayed them on the Rift. And that isn't something you necessarily think would come out from a DK, but I think DK probably will put up a good fight. I think it's a close series on paper, so that's why it's a 2-1. I do, however, think KT will showcase why they're higher rated than DK. As a whole, I think it's a good series, to be honest. Fnatic Weibo. I started to type out Weibo there to win 2-1. But I've listened to interviews, I've watched how they've played. Fnatic do better when the back's against the wall. I think how prevalent and how dominant the Shy has been, he's probably going to be focused quite heavily by Fnatic. Whereas Zhao, who has kind of been the other Stark player of Weibo over the year, he's been kind of nullified by teams. And so I think Fnatic probably will do the same and shut down the Shy and probably invest into Oscarin. And I think this is a sort of series we see the Ivan dominate against Weibo. My immediate thoughts, though, is the threat of the Shy's Aatrox coming through once again and just demolishing Fnatic. But yeah, that's my mindset. I think Fnatic will lose game 1, then just bounce back game 2 and 3. Lastly, G2 BLG. This one's a hard one. And after today's performance, which I really don't want to break down, because it's not even a performance, it's just dismantling. I can actually do the G2. I can do the G2 series right now if you want. I can literally just do it in about 2 minutes. There's not really much more needs to be said. But yeah, G2 versus Big BLG. It's going to be a good series, I think. Honestly, these two teams, they met up at MSI, and we know BLG won, but I don't actually know the result. I don't know what I predicted. I predicted G2 3-1, and it ended up being a BLG dismantling of G2. And I think what we've noticed is, since last Worlds, was G2 week 2 have flopped. There's no easier way to word it. G2 in the second week of Worlds for them, they've underperformed. And here, it's looking like that. Losing to NRG is massive for the region, as we tended to believe that NRG are just weak. But the fact that Contracts found his picks and did work, it set up the team and just gave the wins over to NRG. That's me breaking down the series in a simplistic way. G2 looked helpless and didn't really perform. Like, if I pull up GOL for it, spoiler alert, this is turning into 3 things for the price of 1. G2 versus NRG was just poor. Like, draft, the Vi and Senna Tom Kench just were unplayable against. The Nico dissuaded so much in fights. Then you gave over Rumble Jarvan in game 2. You already know my thoughts on Ornn after the last game that we watched. Ornn just gets bullied out too easily, and Rumble just dismantles him. The fact there was 0 kills for Broken Blade in this entire series is a bit of a worry. Versus BLG, where it's been and not Dokla. Yeah, you kind of have to be worried if you're G2 going into that one. However, this is G2 who do better against teams that are, quote, better than them. So, you kind of have to give them a bit more of a look in that one. Granted, I'm not 100% sure that's going to be the inevitable result. But yeah, that's my takeaway from that. I can officially say I've broken down this series, broken down that one. We've broken down these two as well. We're skipping this one because that is a stomp. That leaves us with T1 versus BLG tomorrow. I'll do that tomorrow, and then you'll get streams for Monday, Tuesday, covering the remaining 3 games of the Swiss stage. You may even get 2 games tomorrow, depending on how I feel. You may get KT versus DK, or you may get G2 BLG. I don't know. Depends how I feel tomorrow. But because I'm going to a ball tonight. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. Regardless, thank you for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed this stream. Bit of a decent one, to be honest. But hey. Tomorrow, you'll obviously get the remaining games. I'm going to be watching the remaining series live, and then we'll go live around, I'd say around 2ish. Again, kind of like today. But you'll also see content from this guy, hopefully this week. And yeah, I'll see you guys.